The rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the landscape outside into a gray mush. Michael Ware gripped the steering wheel tighter, blinking to fight off exhaustion. He had been driving down the winding country road for 3 hours, hoping to reach the nearest motel, but it seemed he had lost his way. The GPS was silent. The cell signal had vanished half an hour ago. The satellite, which had been displaying his route just moments ago, now only spun its loading icon, uselessly trying to update the map. "Come on, damn it," Michael muttered, tapping the screen with his finger. He was exhausted. His head throbbed from the long drive. His muscles ached. All he wanted right now was a warm bed and a cup of coffee. But the road ahead led nowhere. 2 narrow beams of his headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the towering trees that loomed over the road on both sides, turning it into a closed-off tunnel of wet foliage. There were no familiar landmarks. Michael glanced at his phone's screen again. Nothing. No service. No navigation. Great. He considered turning around, but the road was too narrow with only mud and wet grass on either side. One wrong move off the pavement and he could get stuck. So he kept driving, hoping to come across a sign or a gas station. But 10 minutes later, he realized something strange. The road was repeating itself. At first, he brushed it off, but then he saw it. To the right, between the trees, stood an old road sign, half covered in moss. Michael had noticed it 15 minutes ago. Back then, he had thought it was just an old, rusty sign, probably pointing to an abandoned road. But now he was passing it again. Same angle, same scratches. Even the branch that partially covered it was still there. No, this can't be a coincidence. Michael slowed down, feeling a cold, sticky fear crawl up his spine. He was driving in circles. But how was that possible? He hadn't turned anywhere. He had been driving straight the entire time. Unless, what if the road was looping him on purpose? Michael clenched his jaw. He refused to panic. Logic. Everything had a logical explanation. Maybe he was just tired? Maybe his brain was missing small differences in the road, making everything look the same? Yes, that had to be it. He steadied his breathing and kept driving. But another 10 minutes later, he saw the sign again. And this time, his heart stopped. The sign had changed. Or rather, it looked newer, as if someone had replaced it while he wasn't looking. The scratches were gone. The moss had disappeared. The letters were sharper. What the hell? Michael slammed the brakes. The tires skidded on the wet asphalt, and the car halted right in front of the sign. Every instinct in his body told him not to step out, but he had to understand what was happening. Slowly, feeling the cold crawl under his skin, Michael opened the door and stepped out. The rain immediately sank into his skin, sticky water trickling down his neck, soaking his collar. Michael stepped closer. There was a single word on the sign. Stop. He couldn't remember if it had been there before. But now the letters seemed to pulse in the darkness, as if they were waiting for him to notice them. Michael stood in the rain, staring at the sign. Stop. The word pressed down on him, like a warning, like a threat. But who put it here? He looked around. The forest was sinking into darkness, its thick branches arching over him like the walls of a living corridor. Michael shivered, but not from the cold. He felt it, the distinct, suffocating sensation that someone was watching him. He whipped around, but the road was empty. Only his car, its headlights blurring in the rain and the impenetrable void beyond them. He swallowed, feeling his heart pounding in his throat. Enough. He was too tired for this. Shit, he muttered, turning back to his car. He would leave, just get in and drive. But the moment his fingers touched the door handle, headlights flared up in the distance. Another car. Michael froze. The lights approached slowly, cutting through the rain. Relief washed over him. If there was someone there, he could ask for directions. Maybe he wasn't the only one lost out here. He raised his hand, signaling for the car to stop. But as it got closer, a cold dread seeped into his bones. The headlights were wrong, too dim, like their light was barely pushing through the thick fog. And the most terrifying part? He couldn't see a driver. The car moved closer, but no one was behind the wheel. Michael staggered back. What the? At that moment, the headlights blinked, on and off, as if someone had just winked at him. And then the car disappeared, simply vanished, as if it had never been there at all. The road was empty again, only the sound of rain. If you're enjoying this story, give it a like. It helps create more creepy tales. Only silence. Michael stood still, his breathing quick and shallow. This was impossible. He had just seen it. He couldn't have imagined it. His fingers trembled on the door handle. He yanked it open, slid inside, and slammed it shut behind him. His breath came in short, uneven gasps, his skin crawling with goosebumps. He had to leave. Now he started the engine. The headlights cut through the darkness, but now the road ahead looked different. Too long, too unfamiliar. As if it wasn't the same road he had come from. But he had no choice. He pressed the gas, and the car plunged into the void. Rain slid down the windshield, smearing the glow of the headlights, turning the road ahead into a blurred tunnel of shadows and water. But there was nowhere to go. The feeling that he was driving in circles, coming back to the same place over and over again, never faded. The speedometer read 40 miles per hour, but it felt like he wasn't moving at all. The road never ended. The forest never changed. And the sign with the word "stop" kept appearing again and again. Michael gritted his teeth, slammed his fist against the steering wheel, his breathing growing heavier. No, this is impossible. He glanced into the rearview mirror. The road behind him was the same. Darkness, forest, and something was there. For a brief second, he thought he saw a figure standing between the trees. Tall, dark, unnaturally thin, watching him. But when he blinked, it was gone. Only branches swaying in the wind. Michael gripped the wheel until his knuckles turned white. It's all in your head. But his heartbeat pounded faster. He tore his gaze away from the mirror and forced himself to focus on the road. But when he turned his head back forward, it was right there. The creature. For a split second, the headlights illuminated it completely. Tall, pale. Its face, elongated, eyeless, only dark, empty hollows. Its mouth, thin, like a knife wound, stretching far past the corners of its lips. And Michael saw it begin to open. Slowly, as if it was about to speak. Shit! Michael yanked the wheel to the side, the tires screeched, and the car spun out of control. A dull impact. Darkness. Michael came to with a deafening ringing in his ears. His head throbbed, the world swam before his eyes. He was still inside the car, but now it was tilted at an angle. The wheels were sunk into the soft mud at the edge of the road. The headlights were still on, but they barely illuminated the road ahead. Michael blinked, looking around. Where was it? He scanned the road ahead. Empty. Checked the mirror. Nothing. But when his eyes drifted lower, he felt a chill crawl down his spine. Right outside his window, there were footprints, deep, sunk into the mud, as if something had been standing there while he was unconscious, watching him, waiting. Michael yanked at the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. He was locked in, as if the car was holding him inside. No, 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 no. Michael slammed his fist against the glass, but it didn't even shake. He reached for the ignition, but the key was gone. Vanished. as if someone had taken it while he was unconscious, as if someone didn't want him to leave. Michael froze, breathing heavily. And then he heard it. A slow, scraping sound, right outside, against the car, like nails dragging over metal. Michael went still and didn't dare look. He sat there, unmoving. Outside, in the darkness, something was scraping the car. Slowly, deliberately, as if it was enjoying the moment. Michael's heart pounded. He wanted to turn his head, but he was afraid. Afraid to see. Afraid to know. But he couldn't stay here forever. Taking a deep breath, he slowly, as carefully as he could, shifted his gaze toward the side window and froze. There was a face, but not a human one. Empty sockets. A thin, unnatural mouth. Pale skin stretched tight over a skull. The creature was so close that its breath fogged up the glass. And it was smiling. Michael screamed. His hands flew to the door, yanking the handle. Locked. He slammed his fist against the window, but it didn't even tremble. The creature didn't move. It just stared, as if it was waiting. Michael started gasping for air. He had to get out. Then he noticed. The keys were lying on the dashboard, but they hadn't been there a minute ago. As if someone had put them back, waiting for him to notice. Michael's hands shook as he slowly reached forward. He grabbed the keys, and at that moment, the creature was gone. Just gone. As if it had never been there at all. But something still lingered in the air. Something wrong. Michael slid the key into the ignition. Turned it. Click. The engine didn't start. Click. Click. Silence. Michael slammed his fist against the steering wheel, cursing everything. And then, a voice came from behind him. You were supposed to stop. Right behind him. Inside the car. Michael felt breath on the back of his neck. Michael froze. The voice behind him sounded unnatural, low, drawn out, as if it was coming from the void itself. He didn't want to turn around. He knew what he would see. But something, unseen yet heavy, pressed down on him. It was as if the air inside the car had thickened, turned dense and suffocating, weighing on his chest. As if it was waiting for him to look, waiting for him to accept his fate. But Michael wasn't going to surrender. With a sudden jerk, he yanked the door handle. Click. It opened. He tumbled out, hitting the wet ground chest first. Lightning fast, he scrambled up, stumbled back, pressing himself against the hood. He looked into the car. The back seat was empty. But something had changed. Something was wrong. The interior was darker than it should have been, as if the headlights couldn't reach inside. As if there was another world inside now. A black hole pulling in reality itself. And then Michael heard it. Footsteps. Behind him. Slow. Getting closer. He froze, feeling every muscle in his body lock with terror. Michael sucked in a breath, spun around, and saw it. It stood just a few steps away. Tall, pale, a face with no eyes, its mouth twisted into an inhuman grin. And it took a step forward. Michael bolted into the forest. He ran as fast as he could, not looking back, his feet slipping in the mud, stumbling over roots. The rain lashed against his face, but he didn't stop. He didn't know where he was running. All that mattered was away from the road, away from the car, away from it. Behind him, the footsteps quickened. It was gaining on him. Michael tripped on a root, fell hard. Pain shot through his leg, but he crawled forward, digging his fingers into the wet earth. Branches whipped against his face. The footsteps grew closer. And then, silence. No footsteps, no breathing behind him, only the sound of rain. Michael stopped, gasping for air. Slowly, he lifted his head. And there, 5 steps ahead, was the same road. And his car. Perfect, clean, as if nothing had happened, as if he had never run, as if he had never moved at all. Michael felt something inside him collapse. He was trapped. There was no way out. Behind him, a whisper. "I told you, stop." Darkness swallowed him. Michael gasped for air. The darkness wrapped around him, cold, sticky, alive. He couldn't see the road, the forest, anything. Only emptiness. But he could feel the presence. It was right there. "Stop," whispered the voice right in his ear. Michael screamed and lurched forward, but his body wouldn't obey. Something was holding him back, as if invisible hands had grabbed him from the darkness, keeping him from moving, from breathing, from thinking. He wouldn't give up. He fought. He broke free. And in the next moment, he woke up. He sat up abruptly, gasping for air. His heart hammered against his ribs, his shirt soaked in sweat. Michael looked around. He was in his car. The rain drummed against the roof. The headlights cut through the night. There was no one nearby, no creature, no forest. He was parked on the side of the highway. The road stretched ahead, and around the bend, he could see the glow of a gas station. As if nothing had happened. But he remembered. Every sound, every step behind him, every moment the darkness touched his skin. It was real. But he was here, alive. How? Michael's shaking fingers fumbled for his phone. The signal was back. Time, 3:14 a.m. The exact same time it had all begun, as if only seconds had passed. He started the engine. This time, the car obeyed. Michael gripped the wheel, trying to calm himself. He would keep driving, get far away from here, and he would never return to this road. But as he pulled away, something flickered in the rearview mirror. A silhouette, tall, pale, standing just at the edge of the headlights' glow. Michael didn't look. He pressed the gas. The car sped into the night, leaving behind the darkness. The darkness that was still waiting for the next traveler. If this story made your heart race, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button to support new chilling tales, and tap the bell. That way, you won't miss the next dose of horror. In the comments, let us know how much you enjoyed the story and which themes scare you the most. Who knows? Maybe your idea will become the next nightmare.